Hello guys, welcome back. So far we've been able to create a new user and log in with that user. So how about logging out? That is what we're about to do now. And to implement it, we're going to be looking at another C# feature, which is called partial, which is called a partial. So I want you to understand something. So far, the way we arrived at this page is we have a layout page that holds the header and the footer, and then we have the register page which holds this mid section. And just to illustrate, I'm going to open up our project. I'm going to stop this. Turn to terminal. I'm just pressing a key here. Okay, so I'm going to come in here and show you that in our web project, if I come to our views, we have the shared folder which holds the layout. So the layout is what gives a skeleton, so to say, to the header and the footer, and then we have the account part, right, which is the login and the register part. Now together they work together to give us this complete page. This register part, for example, is this midsection, but the layout and the login page work together to give us this. The important thing here is I want you to realize that we're mixing two files to give us this final output that we see here, and we can mix more than two files. We can pull HTML from various number of pages to create a new page, and that is what we're going to be doing. We're going to start from creating a view called a partial. So let's come into our shared folder, and we're going to create that partial in our shared folder. So I'll just right click here and I'll say new file. I'll call it underscore login partial. Remember, our end goal here is to CSHTML. So our end goal here is that when a user logs in, we want to change this button from login to logout. So if a user is logged in, this button should have log out on it, not login. And that's the functionality that we're looking to create here. And we're going to use a partial for it, right? And to understand what we need to do, we need to understand what part of our UI, we need to understand what part of our UI we need to change. So obviously, we need to change our user interface when the user is logged in and when the user is logged out. To do that, I'm going to come to our layout, and let's look at the part of our code that contains the login and logout buttons. Just going to close this so I have more screen estate, and I'm just searching for that login. Okay, so I think this is it. This is the, if I'm not mistaken, this is the login and submit buttons. So login and submit. Simply going to inspect this just to make sure. And indeed, this is my login button and this is my submit button. Now what I want to do is I want to take away this part of this code, like this div, and instead I'm going to put a placeholder here. Give me a second. So instead I'm going to use a partial there. I'm simply going to say, hey, instead of using the actual code here, take this partial and put the partial here, and I'm going to move those buttons into my login partial, and I'll explain once again. I'm going to paste it into my HTML file so it is properly formatted, and I have this properly formatted, so I'll take it and I'll put it in my partial file. And then my layout, I remove it from my layout, and I'm telling it, hey, the code that you're going to display here, the HTML you're going to display here, is going to come from the login partial. I'll just confirm that this still works. So for now, everything should still work as usual. Steps after web, and I'll just say .NET run. And let's see if we can still, let's just hit enter here for now, and we can see everything still works because we can see our login and submit button here. Let's go to /account/register, and we can see nothing changed in our view. The only noticeable change is that those buttons are no longer coming from this page. Those buttons are now coming from the login partial, and I'll show you why it was important that we extracted them here. Because we've extracted them here, we can then use C# to decide, hey, should we show the login button or should we show a logout button? And the way to do that is to use an if statement. And you can use, like I said, because this is a CS/HTML file, you can use using statement. So we're going to start from a using statement at using ASP.NET Core dot, I think it's okay, Microsoft.ASP.NET Core dot identity. So we add a using statement, Microsoft.ASP.NET Core dot identity. So we bring in a using statement, and then we inject our sign-in manager and user manager into the page. And these are some of the powers of Result. So with normal HTML, you can't do all of this, but because we're using CS/HTML, we can. So sign-in manager of application user, and this is going to require that I bring in a using statement too. Manager. Okay, so I guess I can. So we're going to say at using estate app dot data dot entities. Is that where it is? Okay, that's where it is. So that was necessary for the application user, and I'm going to inject user manager too. Let's inject user manager of application user. I'll call it user manager. Awesome. Now I can the sign-in manager has a method called the isSignedIn method, and we can use it here. I'll say at if sign-in manager dot isSignedIn, and I'll pass in something the user. So we have a global user object in our application. So I'll pass in that global user object, and then I'll say else. And I'm sure some of you can already see where I'm going with this. So if the user manager is signed in, now if the user is not signed in, I want to return this HTML, sorry. Let's just ignore all of this. We'll come back to fixing all of this later. So if the user is not signed in, I want it to display buttons that say log in and register. And if the user is signed in, I want to give the user two options. The options is either submit a property, or you know what, I think only logged in users should be able to submit properties anyway. So I'll take this out, and only agents should be able to submit properties. So I'll take this out, and if a user is logged in, I just want to display a log out button. And this is great. Let's see if what we have still works. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to run it again. Okay, so it's running. Now I'll come to the web, and I'll come to the register. and see I have login and register. What I want to do is to log in, so I'll take this off and instead go to login, and I have my login page. I'm going to log in with the same details I used to create it before because it's still in my database. There's at 1 2 3 4 5, and then I'll hit login. Okay, so no, I don't have a difference. Give me a second. So this should change, but for some reason it didn't. Let's just inspect and see what's going on. Okay, so no, it's not changing, which is weird. Okay. Okay, let's see. So we have a login password here, and we're saying if the user is logged in, it's on the button saying log out. So I don't know if I can debug here. I never tried to debug Razor, but let's just put some breakpoints here and see if we can debug it. And I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to try to debug the application. So I'll just say run. And I'm going to, okay, so currently it hits my breakpoint, so it's currently saying, hey, this user is not logged in. So it's getting this part of the code. I'm going to open this in a private window, so I'm sure I don't have any user details somewhere. So I'll say browser guests and just come here and say /account/login. It should hit my breakpoint again as an unauthenticated user, so I'm not logged in. I can just say continue, and then I can put in my details. If I remember correctly, it's vwarner@gmail.com, and then the password is dev at 1 2 3 4 5. I'm gonna put it to log in. So this is my login model. I'll just hit continue, and once again it doesn't recognize that I am logged in. So what happens is my login succeeds, but it doesn't recognize that I am logged in. It just continues here, and there are a few reasons this can happen. One is that we haven't told ASP.NET Core how to know when we're logged in, so that is one reason. And the truth is, this thing changes between different versions of ASP.NET Core. So I'm just going to come into a new project, or this is the latest ASP.NET Core project, and I'm going to just look at the difference between our project and yes. So this is a logout, and this is a logout page. What we're looking for is a login. So I have sign in manager password sign in async. Okay, so this is exactly what we have. Pretty sure the issue should be from our startup. I'm just going to take a look in the startup here and see how identity was registered. So at default identity and the other pages, controller with views. So we're just going to, so these are some of the issues you would have working yourself. So we're just going to have to Google this one. So I don't know. So we are able to sign in successfully. I mean, we don't have any issues, but I cannot figure out why we're supposed to be logged in, but it's not detecting us to be logged in. So I'm going to Google this one or use DuckDuckGo, and I'll just copy this. Sign in manager is signed in. And just Google sign in the manager.inside in returns false after password signing. So let's just go ahead and try to figure out this one together. And one way to know that it's an issue that a lot of people run into is to, you can see that different people are asking the question. So someone even registered on GitHub that he's trying to do this thing and he's running into this issue, and this is a nice place to actually find ways to resolve your problem. Okay, there are no answers for this guy, and we're just going to come to Stack Overflow, and there's some okay, so it's saying hey, you can try using is authenticated. Let's see if okay, so let's start from we can simply try to use a different method. We can try to check if the user is authenticated using different methods, which is user.identity.is-authenticated, and let's try this and see. But thinking about it, I think I realize why we're having this issue. Let's take a look at startup one more time. Is authorization. Okay, so there's no upload to use authentication. Upload to use authentication. I don't have this here. I'm pretty sure. Static files, routing, authorization, authentication. I think this is the missing bits. Of course, yeah, use authentication is here. So I'm just going to move it up before authorization. And let's see if this fixes it. I think this is the fix. So upload to use authentication. I'm going to stop and rerun the application. Oh, no, Control C. Okay, I can't run it because I'm debugging it here. I'm just going to stop this and I'll debug again. Okay, so it's hitting my breakpoint again, and because I added that, you see now, because I signed in with a user on this browser before, it's telling me, hey, there's a signed in user in this browser that has a session already. So this time it hits this breakpoint, the one that says if the user is signed in. If I hit continue now, you see I now have a log out button here. So the issue we had was not adding that app.is authentication. Now we have a log out button here, but we haven't implemented the log out functionality. So what should happen when someone clicks the log out button? For that, I'm simply going to lift some code from our logout view. So and it's very simple to implement. We'll simply come to account controller. So this is our controllers. We have an account controller, and we'll simply create a new post action. I think I'm going to put it at the very top. Public I action result. Post, or let's see, I'll call it logout. It doesn't have to take anything, and all I have to do, it has to be asynchronous. So with async task of I action result, and all I have to do is I just have to say await underscore sign in manager dot sign out async, and this basically signs me out, and I can just return to the home page, return local redirect, and I just go to the home page to show that I have logged out. And that's it. Now, how do I use this? To use this, I'm going to stop the program, come into my login partial, and I want to tell it, hey, each time someone clicks the log out button, I want you to call that action. And the way to do that is a second, I'm simply going to the view. Views, shared, and login partial. So account, I think we should change that. Let's change this action to a get action. So let's come to account controller and put a get action on this one. Get attribute, sorry, http get. So we're going to put a get here, and we just want to call the logout endpoint. And that's our login partial. So for our login partial, we just want to navigate button. Do we want to use a button? Let's see. Slash account slash logout. You know what, let's just Google a more convenient, a cleaner way to do this. So I'm going to say s3.net core post endpoint outside form. So I don't want to have to create a form to do that. No, this is not what we want. Again, this is not what I want. SP OMG result tags. It's like helper forgets action. Let's take a look at this. Nope, I don't want to use it. Okay, this is what I'm looking for. So button, with the controller and all of this. I'm looking for this ASP controller and ASP action. I'm just going to take these two and bring them here. I'm just going to leave the class. I'm going to take out this on click. I'm going to replace it with this instead. So the controller we wanted to call when we click log out is our accounts controller, of course, and the action should be I think the action should be the logout action as we named it, if that's correct. So yeah, it's the logout action. Let's just confirm that that's correct. Logout action, awesome. And then it has the logout button. I'm going to put a breakpoint on the account service, on the account controller, sorry, to check that this works. So I have a breakpoint here, and I'm going to run this program. Just hit my breakpoint, also continue. And you see that I'm logged in, I'm still logged in here. So I'm going to hit log out. Okay, logout does not work. I'm going to do a hard refresh here, so I'm sure. But let's inspect this to make sure we have the latest version of this code in the browser. Yeah, so it's there. Form action / account / logout. Okay, so this isn't working because we didn't wrap it in a form. Well, I think we should just, instead of using a form, let's use an attribute, which is the href. Let's see. So instead of using a button here, I'm going to change this to an A, but I'm just worried it's not going to work out. So I'm worried about the styling, because in the codes they use the button. Changing it to an A might affect the way it looks. Well, let's see how it works out. So I'm simply changing it from a button to an AREF, and let's run it again and see if it looks the same. Once again, I've hit my breakpoint. Yes, I have a signed in user. I hit enter. Okay, so changing it to an A made it look a bit different. I'm just going to hit log out, and you see that this time it works. This time it has hit my logout endpoint, because I can now hit my logout endpoint, and I'm going to just say continue. Now, because I am logged out, when it hits this partial, it didn't come into this is signed in user page, it came into the other one. And I'm just going to say continue, and now I'm logged out. You see, I can see log in and register. Well, I really don't like this behavior. Because when you're logged in, the button looks a little wonky, so I'm simply going to wrap it in a form and change it back to a button. So I'll put this button here, and I'll create a form. I'll say form ASP action equals get. So a form can have different kinds of actions. So for this one, I want the action to be get, so I don't have to change So I want the action to be get, so I don't have to change to what's called. So I don't have to change the property on this other one. And that's great. Let's run this again and see. This time I'm just going to use .NET Run from here. I don't have to debug this. So .NET Run. Okay, great, it's running now. If I come here now, as you can see, I have my login and register. I'm going to /account/register. I still have login and register because I am logged out. But what I want to do is to log in and see what my button looks like now. So I have it1@gmail.com and then dev@12345, and then I'm going to log in. Now it's asking me if I want to save the password. Now I have my logout button. It looks the exact way it looked before. If I hit log out now, actually logged out. Account/logout. So it's telling me method not allowed. This is actually a method not allowed exception. Let's go in and see what's wrong in my account controller. I named it get. So this is a get action, and in my partial I'm sending a get. Let's change this to a post and see if we get the same issue. So changing this to a post would mean we need to change here to a post. So let's change both of them to a post, and then we'll have to run this application again. So now run. And once again, remember that we're already logged in, so we have the logout button. Let's hit the logout button, and now we were able to log out successfully. So what happened was a request was sent back to the controller, and the controller saw that, hey, we want to sign out. After signing out, we can now see we have the, but currently if we click the login and the register button, it doesn't go to the login or the register endpoint. So let us fix that. To fix that, we just have to go back into the partial and change what the partial points to. Give me a second. Okay, so for this one, we just have to take out this on click here. Well, you know what? Let's take out this on click. Let's take out this one too. Let's take out this on click, and let's try to use a form with a get request again. Once again, the proper way to do this is just to change this to a href. Well, let's see if I can wrap a href and a in here. We'll change this button and see if that works. see, slash account slash slash login. Let's say this button goes to login, and let's call this login. Just drop an aref in the button. See, this might work. And then for register, we're going to put an href equals slash account again slash register this time, and we're going to put register here. So this looks like it should work with a capital R. I'm going to stop this and run it again. Alright, great. Let's see if it works. So if we come back here, we have our login and register. Once again, it's not looking as it should. And when I click register, indeed we come to our register page. When I click login, we do come to our login page where there's a discoloration here. This doesn't look as we want it to look. And these are some of the downsides of using a template. Sometimes you have to make all those kind of adjustments just so you can keep it looking exactly the way you want it to look. So we can decide to leave it this way. I personally don't like the look, so I'm going to attempt to fix it. So let's put a form around it as we did for the first one. Once again, we're going to try to use a get form. Form ASP action. Let's just say form instead of action. Let's say form action equals get. Okay, and then I'm just going to move these buttons in here. And let's just do some formatting, tab, and go in. And now I no longer want this href here because I don't like how it looks, and instead I'm going to have the login here instead, and I'm going to have a register here instead. And then once again, I want ASP controller and this to point to this. So the controller should be accounts, the action should be the login action. Same thing with this place. So I want accounts, I want register action. I'm not sure they should work. Well, let's see. So once again, .NET run, and if I come to my browser, I see our button looks the way they should look again. But when I click on register, okay, this works. When I click to register, I come to register, and when I click on login, awesome. So this works. Register, log in. Let's try to log in with the wrong user details. We come back with login failed. Let me try to log in with correct details. Dev at 1 2 3 4 5. I see log in. Logged in successfully. I'm on the home page. I can log out. Let's create a new user. I'll say register, and name, let's say this is for Richard. Email, let's say it's alwana@gmail.com. Password, same password, dev at 1 2 3 4 5. Dev at 1 2 3 4 5, and I'll say register. And we know my registration is successful because it logged me in and brought me to this home page, and I have my logout button here. So ladies and gentlemen, that is how to implement user registration and login. If we come to my database and we do a refresh here, we see I now have 3 users, including Richard's user. So we're going to stop here. From in the next video, we're going to talk about adding products, so actually adding houses to our site, because currently there are no houses for our users to browse. In the next videos, we're going to add users for them to browse. Thank you. We might have to do some work before we get to adding users.